The views and opinions expressed on this show are those of the authors. Any content provided by our bloggers or authors are of their opinion and are not intended to malign any religion, ethnic group, club, organization, company, municipality, individual, or anyone or anything.
He's a surgeon. He's a 100-ton boat captain. He's a lieutenant on Seaside Heights Beach Patrol in New Jersey. He's a member of the Coast Guard Auxiliary. He's Dr. Michael Kachmar. Need answers to your medical questions? We have them. Listen in to hear latest on medical topics related to all that and more.
Famous whiteboard. And so this is what we're going to talk about today. Listen, I want to just tell everybody right off the bat, we are, we don't talk about violence here. We're what we're trying to do is give you information. What do we call pundits? So this is our opinion. We do the best research that we can. Can we say it's 100% accurate? We try to. We go into the literature, we do research, and we have a whole crew. We have a whole group of people downstairs here. We got about 15, 20 people
15,
researching.
yeah.
Right. And
every once in a while you'll hear a thudding. That's me just banging downstairs to tell them to keep it down.
So anyway, so we're going to talk about, this is something that is really crazy. And I want people in state of New Jersey to understand what is going on with our children. So the theme here is that the parents, we're losing control and authority and even knowledge of what's going on with our children. And children are getting more and more abilities to make their own decisions without the parents' consent.
Yeah.
Now, you might say, oh, it's no big deal, or maybe that's liberty, or maybe that's democracy. Well, if you think about it, a lot of these children are not able or should not be able to, or what we believe is that they're not able to make decisions.
For themselves.
For themselves.
At certain ages.
Right,
yeah.
certain ages. That's why we always had the children being protected.
Mm-hmm.
The second thing on this note is I still believe, and again, prove me wrong, but I think the parents, in most cases, have the best interest for the children, and they should be responsible and have the authority to determine what these children do. Now, I understand you can make the argument, and I don't want to go down that argument where, the state has more power than the kid, the parents, and that the state knows better than the parents.
No, they don't. That's the issue.
Well, this is the issue, right? So let's go back here, and I want to talk a couple things. So I want to just start at consent, because we use surgical consent. We all know about consent. If you're going to be operated on, I have you sign a consent. What basically consent is that you're consenting. You're saying, yes, I'll have the surgery done. You could take my nose off. I understand the ramifications, the downside, the risks.
This is a good question here. That you just brought up a good thing.
What did I bring up? What was good?
On this age of consent for operating, right?
Yes.
What's the ages we're talking about here?
Well, that's why I want to bring up. So it used to be 18.
Used to be 18.
Without
a parent's
consent. Yes. Well, in New Jersey, it's not that clear cut now. So I'll give you some insurances and you make a good point. So the age of consent for sex. So now let's start with that. The age of consent right now in New Jersey, and it has nothing to do with the individual who the 16-year-old is having sex with could be any age, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, it doesn't matter. If you're 16 years old in the state of New Jersey, 16, 17, 18, you can consent to sex with anybody. As there's some there's caveats. It can't be a family member. It can't be coerced. You can't be like.
What you're saying is they thought about this a little bit.
Right. Yeah, it can't be like somebody who's a supervisor or a teacher. Like if you're in Wawa, you can't say to the 16-year-old boy or girl, "Hey, I'll give you a couple extra, hamburgers." So it can't be, and there can't be any alcohol involved. But basically, barring that, and you could read the statute, we have it here. Barring that, the age is 16. And here's the thing, Jeremy. There's legislation right now talking about lowering that age of 16 for other things, to 13. Now, we're going to go, and that's with regard to transgender treatment. Let's keep going. So that's number one. So if you want to have sex in New Jersey, and you're 16, 17, you do not need consent. You don't need your parents. Parents don't have to be told, don't have to know about it. And so if you're online with some fucking predator,
Yeah.
You know, I
Yeah.
mean, and they can't even get locked up.
Let me.
You understand what I'm saying? They can't even
Since
get.
you brought that up, since
They
you
could be
brought
like
the
a
predators up.
50-year-old, weirdo.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
Well, there, you know,
Okay.
my son and his best friend, one of his best friends. Well, this girl, we knew her when she was a baby.
Right.
She lives in my
Right.
house practically,
Right.
and she had a whole conversation with Justin Bieber online.
Oh,
And,
really?
Yeah, Justin Bieber was
Yeah, and
like,
she believed it. How
and it
old
was
is
like
she?
they
How
were
old is she?
Well, this was 5 or 6 years ago. She's 16 now.
Yeah.
You know.
So she was
But-
very young,
Yeah.
right?
So you know, she was saying, "Oh yeah, and we want to meet up and be
Yeah.
together." He's asking where I live and all of that, and I had to sit down with both her and my son with their mother present, right? And I had to talk with them
Yeah.
about the internet
Yeah.
and what bad people will do,
Right.
because see, that's the thing when we talk about all these young ages.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You really have to wrap your brain around how little they know.
How naive they are, too.
How naive
Right,
they
right.
are about the real
right,
world
right,
and
right.
the ugliness and the monsters
Right,
in the
right,
real
right.
world.
Well, you talk to an 8-year-old and they believe in Santa Claus and the Tooth Fairy, which is great. But, I remember a case while you bring it up where one of my friends, he's an architect, and his son, this is when the internet just started coming out and all this crazy stuff was going on. People like, oh, anyway, he was on the internet and befriended somebody in, I don't know if it was Chile, Brazil, somewhere in South America. And he thought it was a girl. And he was like, I don't know, 17 years old, 18. I don't know how old he was, but he was old enough to buy an airline ticket without his parents knowing. And he was going to fly down there, right? And what happened was somebody alerted him, the father, to this thing, and he put a kibosh on it. What it really was is they found out it's a ring, it's a kidnapping ring. So you go down there, they get you at the airport, they cut your ear off, they send it to your parents and say, listen, I want $100,000. Don't call the cops. You never see your son again.
Yeah, and you're probably not going to see him anyway.
Well, I think they this stopped it. But my point is that it's a very dangerous place. And the state of New Jersey right now is kind of saying, listen, if they're 16 years old, we're not going to get involved. They want to have sex. They want to talk to somebody. I don't know if it's
but that's it, dodging responsibility.
Okay,
If
well,
you're
let's
if you're going to give these kids more responsibilities in life, then you've got to be responsible for what you're giving them.
well, they're too young. Now let's go to the next thing. It gets
No,
worse.
I mean the people that are making the laws.
Yeah, well,
they
they're not-
have
no,
to
well,
be responsible for the consequences.
So let's go here. We got some light there. I don't know what's on that light.
It's this thing here.
Yeah. Can you want to just move that camera a little bit for me, Jeremy, please? Appreciate it. So the next thing we're going to talk about here is number 2. For people who are on Spotify who can't see this, you got to go onto our thing. Just see if you can move it a little bit. Now, Jeremy, just turn that a little bit. Then I'm sorry about this, people. So we're just going to have to deal with it. So the next thing is thanks. That's good. The next thing is abortion. So here's the deal with it. That's good, Jeremy. You don't have to go that far. That's good enough. So abortion. Here's the deal with abortion. So people don't realize this and understand this. In New Jersey, now this is New Jersey now. So, okay, age of consent for sex is 16 years old and above. And there's talk about moving the consent to even younger. There goes pedophiles. I mean, there's not going to be a pedophile anymore. Abortion. In the state of New Jersey, and you guys could look this up. I looked up the statutes, and I'm going to show you some of it. If you're under 18, okay, you do not need parental consent. You can consent to it yourself. So, I mean, if you're 18 and above, you can consent. That's in New Jersey, 18 years old is a consent for surgery. If you want to have an abortion, you're 12 years old. Listen to me now. No parent consent. Now, it's not even 16. So some places, some things in New Jersey, if you're under 16, you need consent. But for abortion, no consent. No, the parents don't have to be known. You could do it yourself, and the state of New Jersey will pay for it. Now, I mean, I looked at this, and I thought it was anybody under 16 needed consent. But according to what I'm looking at and the state statute, there's abortion in New Jersey is on demand. Listen to me, on demand. No time frame with regard to the pregnancy. You could be 9 months pregnant. No waiting period. And no parental consent. And the parents don't even have to be told. So the way I'm reading it, and I could, again, looks to me that you could be 12 years old, 13 years old, pregnant, and you could get an abortion if you want, and the state will deal with it. Okay? Next, number 2. Okay? So do you understand that? Okay, so now you got 16-year-olds could have sex, and maybe even younger, and you could have an abortion.
See,
That's
I understand.
Yeah, now,
but like when I was in my lifetime, I discovered at one point somebody had told me a friend of a friend, and a 13-year-old had gotten pregnant.
mm-hmm.
My jaw dropped in absolute disgust. My thoughts on that have not changed since. So I struggle to understand how the rest of my country and the people in it and the governing body decide that these things are okay. And they take away your responsibility of them, like the parents' responsibility. They eliminate that, so you don't even have a say in what's going on at all.
No.
I mean, this is really sick. This seems to me like something that needed to be voted on or something like that.
Well, let's go. This is well, I didn't even finish yet.
Okay.
Number 3. Number 3.
Sure.
Okay. In New Jersey, they passed recreational marijuana. You could smoke it if you're 21 or and above, at home, nowhere out, not outside. You can only have a small amount on your person, right? And but there's a but to the law.
Right.
If you're under 21, but above 16, so 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, you could smoke it. It's not criminal. It says it right in the statute. Not criminal, not delinquent. And moreover, and that means that's alcohol, marijuana, hashish. And so if you get caught and you're in the park somewhere and you're 16 years old, 16, 17 years old,
Okay.
and you got pot, the cops cannot tell your parents.
Right.
I don't even know if they could take it away from you. Now, they want to push that down to 13, but right now, so I think under 16, they may not even talk to your parents at that point, but force you or submit your name to some kind of drug treatment program. And again, I believe you're shielded from your parents. So let's look at this. What we're saying: age of consent for sex in New Jersey, 16. Then that's anybody. You could be 50-year-old guy or girl, whatever. And as long as if it's its teacher or something in a supervisory situation, so that's number 1. Number 2 is abortion on demand, any age, no consent. No parents have to know about it. The sex, no parents have to know about it. 3, smoking marijuana, under 21, above 16. The cops cannot arrest you. They give you a warning. They cannot tell your parents. If the cops tell your parents, they are subject to criminal prosecution.
Okay, so here's a big question.
Okay, and we got one more. We got still go, but go ahead.
Here's a big question. Why do they feel the need to do this?
There's a million. Well, I can tell you. I'll give you.
What are they getting out of it?
All right.
What's the purpose? What was the flaw that they felt like they needed to fix to begin with?
All right. Well,
why are they doing the things that they're putting into place?
Let me finish up why, and then I'll give you the why. Okay.
Oh, you got a why. Good.
So now I'm going to give you another one I put down here. Now with that smoking everything, just so you understand. Well, then the next thing is the HIPAA laws. Now HIPAA has been around for a long time, and HIPAA laws are where if you are in a hospital, Jeremy, you're in a car accident.
Yeah.
And you don't consent to your parents or your wife to be told what's wrong with you, the doctors and the staff in the hospital they cannot tell your family what's wrong with you. You understand? Now, and so if you're 16, right, and above, you don't need. You could be in the hospital, whatever, and tell your parents, tell the doctors, I don't want them to know. Now, what's on the state statute right now, they want to raise that, they want to lower it down to 13 for if you're in school and you need transgender sex, you want to have counseling for hormone blockers. Whether or not they could give it, I don't know. But I can tell you right now, they want it. There's legislation right now. They want to have you at 13 and above, no parental consent. If there's a doctor who thinks you are in need of it. So this is the state. So the state's going to have a doctor the counselor at school, and they're going to take over the care, and no parents are involved, no parent consent.
So
no
that's
there's a lot of people I talk to who are very well-meaning. They're saying, they're going, listen, Dr. Katchmar, these kids, their uncle gets them pregnant, or their family's a train wreck, and the family's not there. There's one parent family, it goes on and on why they feel, wait, let me just finish, why they feel the state has to come in. Now, let me make a point with the marijuana. Why, you say, why under 21 that you could smoke it out in public if you're, under 21 but above 16. You know why? You know what it says in the statute? What the governor of the state said? Basically, because the cops were pulling over disproportionately black people who were smoking and drinking and not white. So they, all across the board, shot it down. So now you have the Wild Wild West. Well, is that true or not? I don't know. But let me. So I just talked about 4 things. Definitely the age of consent is 16. Now it's going, and they want to bring it down to 13. Now in different, there's exceptions to these rules. There's criteria. I don't know if anybody in the state of New Jersey could get a transgender sex change under 18 without parental consent. I don't know. They might. I could tell you right now, they could definitely get counseling. And the way, there is statute to say you could get alcohol treatment, you could get sex, you could get abortion. That's a procedure. Now, abortion is not the same as having your breast removed or your penis removed. No. I understand that. And so I don't know, but I'm telling parents out there, you better watch out. Bringing people here today who will discuss all of this and give you really plausible examples of where these things help. Okay, just let me just
I mean, at the end of the day, though, it's them wanting their cake and eat it too.
Well,
that's
again,
what it is.
I understand that, but
and the devil and the road to hell is paved with good intentions.
Let me tell you where I at least could tell you where I see the facts are, and without trying to interpret what's in somebody's mind, what their motives. Here's what I see: is that all of this I'm talking about, all of this on the whiteboard here, what's the what's the word I'm gonna use? The string that goes through all of this, the common denominator, okay, of all of this is no parental consent. You understand? And this is something I want to bring up to the public, our listeners. You could make the argument why they're doing this. You can make the argument on each specific one. But here's the deal. Number one, and most importantly, the parents are out of the picture, which is so if you want to talk about alternative motives, what the communists did, what they did is you destroy the family unit. You destroy the family unit, and then you have people wandering around, and what they look for is the state. You get rid of religion, you get rid of the family. So this, whether or not it's intentional or not, this is destroying the family unit, because
that's the perfect point. That's the perfect point. So